Meath trying to come back.
Colin Kyle got a ball. I think Kyle was trying for a score, but it dropped short. I remember just sneaking in behind Mick, sort of Deegan, and sort of sliding across John's body. He'd come out, and I just got my hands in ahead of it.
Pressing forward, chipping one in, and it's a goal by Bernard Flynn. Oh, it's precisely what the game has required. Just 2 points the difference. A goal after 25 minutes of the second half. Simply executed, lobbed in, missed by Dublin, not by Bernard Flynn, his first goal of the afternoon.
It was a score that sort of got us going for the first time in that match, because we were in serious trouble.
Our difficulty, I think, certainly my memory from our difficulty would have been killing the game. I think on a number of occasions we would have felt, yeah, we have them.
After a minute and 20 seconds of injury time, he's put it over the bar, and we seem destined for extra time once again. The sides are level. It's Meath 1-7, Dublin 10 points. They still play on, and the referee says that's it. A case of deja vu. We have another half an hour of extra time. So, after 2 hours of this championship tie, and after after 4 hours, I should say, of this championship tie, and an hour in the league, back in March, they still cannot resolve it.
Players today obviously are fitter than they were 15 years ago, but still there were lessons learned. And when you consider they were playing these games, you know, week in, week out, and playing like 100 minutes of football, that's a hell of a lot. It's a very, very big ask on anyone's physique.
So the referee restarting. 15 minutes each way, and I can tell you that Charlie Redmond has been reintroduced for Dublin. First time this afternoon. As Coyle's going through, it's a goal! Oh, straight away, Colin Coyle has scored for Meath in the opening 20 seconds of the first period of extra time. He created the goal initially for Bernard Flynn in normal time, and now he's goaled himself.
I think Charlie got it onto a short kick out, and we worked it up the field and got inside the Meath full back line and slipped as I was kicking it, but thankfully Paul Clark was on there on the end of it, and he banged it home. It was good. It was a good movement from our cornerback position almost.
Willing to work very, very hard. Here he did everything. Unlucky not to get the first kick into the goal. Ball broke loose to Paul Clark and well put away for Dublin.
The ball has gone up to David Beggy all alone. Heary had given him a yard. Now trying to get back goal side. Is this to be it for the reigning Leinster champions? David Beggy going through. Stopped by McKennedy. It's gone loose. There's no foul. The referee says play on. John O'Leary hand-busted outside to Deegan. On my watch there are 30 seconds remaining. It's a thrilling match, and David Beggy might well have sealed it there for me, just as Vinny Murphy might have done so for Dublin 2 weeks ago at the end of the 7th.
Both sets of players could not believe this had gone to extra time again, and it was another draw.
And the Leinster Council to get another £250,000 because it's going to a fourth match. 17 points apiece. Meath 211, Dublin 114.
I do remember just after the third game, something different sort of happened. I remember as a forward, you were further away from the main group of players, but shaking hands in particular was different on this occasion. You know, fellas sort of started to look at each other a little bit more, looking at each other in amazement that, like, we're all in this together type of thing, and we don't know really what it is.
But the third game was probably the one that I thought maybe we should have won, even though the last game we were, 5-6 points ahead. But I think the third game was probably a better game, and I thought we should have won it.
Maybe there was a bit of an inevitability about it, that it was going to be close and maybe it was going to go to a draw again. I think that got into people's minds, and maybe even the players' minds, and maybe even the referee's mind. And at times you would think he was trying to balance out things.
Even replays seemed, in my mind, not to be that common prior to that. They certainly became very common afterwards, to the extent that I think by the end of the 90s there was rumours that the GAA had sort of instructed referees to always play for a draw, you know, so they'd get the full house again, particularly where Dublin were involved.
It's ridiculous, you know, thought that a referee could go out specifically to have a draw or make a draw of a match for the sake of making more money for the GAA.
There's no personal gain in it, but you know yourself that a lucrative replay gives you the readies to do a lot of things that a council might only think about doing. But in our case, apart from paying for the offices, we also were in the process of appointing coaches, and this gave us a shot to go forward, so that so long as Meath and Dublin kept coining the goodies for us, it was good for us.
Certainly by the third and fourth game, you know, I mean, it was all people were talking about, and, you know, the priest at Mass, you know, I can remember was saying, you know, I'll keep it short because, you know, I know everyone's going to Croke Park today. You know, everything kind of life was put on hold in a similar way really to the way it had been the previous summer when Ireland were playing in the World Cup. So, you know, it was a good time. I mean, it was a very, very exciting time.
This four game series just took on a life of its own. You couldn't go around the city but people were talking about it. You couldn't go around Meath where I live. Everybody was talking about it, and you couldn't get away from it. And it was very draining mentally, because no matter where you turned, no matter what shop you went into, no matter what bar you visited, everybody was talking about the same thing.
Every sports editor, I think, in the country ringing me. You had camera crews down from different stations, down at the house, following me around at my work.
It literally took over or consumed our whole life at the time. Wives, girlfriends, work, everything was discarded, particularly after the first match. And you're consumed by something that you thought you were in a little sort of fishbowl and a dream. And it was just football day and night. Phones were switched off, you didn't meet friends. The whole thing was just football. Probably a little bit too much, and that's why we went away in between the third and fourth break, because it was getting to the stage, there was too much football.
I remember after the second match, the county board chairman, Fintan Kennedy at the time, he said, look, do you want to take the lads anywhere for the weekend or something like that? And I said, no, I don't. But after the third match, I spoke to the chairman and secretary again. They said, yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel you have to do to win it, do it.
On the Thursday night of training, we were told to have everything ready for the following morning. That early, wives, kids, babysitter, whatever to be sorted, we were told to be at a certain place at a certain time. We were going away. Unknowns to ourselves, Sean and Noel Keating had flown out on the Monday after the last match and vetted this 5-star hotel in Scotland, and we didn't know any of this, and we didn't even know where we were going. So we were brought there to train, but the girls and wives, you know, girlfriends and wives were brought there. They were treated, the biggest thing that shocked us, they were treated like royalty. 5-star treatment for the girls while the fellas were training, etc.
It was a fantastic experience because, as I say, we were a group who had been together a long time, and we knew each other very well. We, you know, had fallen out a lot. We had made up a lot, and Scotland was a real defining period for the team. It was like almost a team going away just to make its peace with itself and almost have its last official going away party. And we partied hard in Scotland and drank long into the night and trained hard. And the team sort of found itself to some degree in that.
We had a couple of tough training sessions, but it was a good break, it was a good thing to do. And I think in ways he left a lot of the football to people on the pitch. But I think getting them in the right frame of mind going out was what he was mostly focused on, and is probably the most important thing in the end of the day.
A packed Hill 16 in the background. Once again, Croke Park very well packed indeed. For this, the fourth meeting of Meath and Dublin, and that means that over 235,000 paying customers have come through the turnstiles for a fixture which has generated unparalleled interest.
Having gone through kind of the 4 seasons weather-wise in 3 weeks, because the weather had been pretty bad and then horrendous. You know, we'd had rain, it was really cold given that it was summer. The last game, it was a beautiful day, and there's always something about really sunny days in Croke Park, and the blue, you know, it's just a really good colour for sunny days, and the hill always looks fabulous. And I do remember that day going in and looking at Croke Park. You know, we were able to sort of look down at the sites below us and seeing so much blue and thinking, this is the omen, this is the day.
This is it now. Who's the best in Leinster? And it was a case of getting as much from your team, from yourself, to make one final push. I'm not even sure, could I look back and say, did we know this was going to be the last game? Somebody had to come out on top of this one. We went into it desperately needing to win it.
Will there be a decider today, Jack? It's 33 on there being another draw, but who knows in this?
Well, Michael, I hope there is from the players' point of view, because I would say that the pressure on the players for the last 3 or 4 weeks has been very severe, and I know, speaking to some of the players the last day after the game, that they want to get a result as well. I think that most of them are fed up of it at this stage.
We'd no expectations. We took it the same as any of the other matches, and we're probably hoping that there would have been, that we could get back to normality.
And this, the Dublin team, they leave their backline intact following Jerry Hargan's successful introduction 2 weeks ago, but make alterations elsewhere. So Paul Clarke is relocated in midfield in place of the luckless Dave Foran. Charlie Redmond, Dublin's hero, on the 2nd of June, back in there at right half forward, with Mick Galvin happily over the worst of his facial injury, incurred on that same date, now at full forward, and the vacancy there at top of the left filled by Declan Sheehan. However, there is great speculation that Dublin may have a couple of switches up their collective sleeves, and we'll have to see just what materialises when the referee throws the ball in. In defence of their title, Meath decided to keep the evergreen Jerry McEntee in reserve, but there the 2 late changes, number 17 and number 18. We understand that Terry Ferguson pulled a muscle in his back in the dressing room before the match, and Pádraig Lyons comes in to join his brother Mick on the full back line. And the injury picked up by Sean Kelly is a knee injury, was picked up in training yesterday, and so back into the fray comes number 18, Tommy Dowd.
I think going into the 4th game we were every bit as confident as we were going into the first game. In fact, I think we were a little bit more confident.
Well, I think a lot will depend on how the game will go around the middle of the field today, and whatever team will have a pull there today, I think that's the team that's going to win. And I slightly favour Dublin. I think they're the younger team on this occasion, but it's going to be an intriguing game, and it could finish in a draw again.
Underway, the 3rd replay, and the changes we were speculating from Dublin are materialising. Paul Curran here is on the 40. Tommy Carr still right half back, drilling this one forward towards Charlie Redmond, who's moving in the centre. That's closed down, however, by Liam Harnan. Paul Clarke is playing at full forward. It's Mick Galvin top of the left, Declan Sheehan top of the right, and into midfield has come Jack Sheedy. Meanwhile, it's David Beggy looking for score number 1 for the afternoon. Superbly closed down by the very mobile Tommy Carr. And Liam Hayes has required attention, and he's going off the field momentarily. Sean Boylan was in there to nurse him, player who had to leave the field with a dead leg, and now it seems to be a head injury. Stafford, the 45 free taker, has pointed.
A great score by Stafford. That could help Meath now to really settle them.
The one instant that I remember was in the 4th game. It was kind of a heart-stopping moment.
Colin O'Rourke deep in midfield to Stafford, who's come very deep, a good 45 metres out. Hargan trying to get in a telling challenge. And O'Rourke was hit mighty hard that time by Keith Carr, I think.
I was quite close to where it happened, and I thought he was badly injured. That's really what struck me first.
Yes, in fairness to Colin O'Rourke, he kept his eye on the ball, kept on playing it. And if anything will happen, O'Rourke, Meath could be in trouble, because he is unquestionably the best player that Meath have had in all the games to date.
My second thought was, when he wasn't dead, that maybe we had a chance.
Of a sandwich there. And O'Rourke is off. So now, Meath, only 4 minutes gone, have lost Terry Ferguson, Sean Kelly, and now Colin O'Rourke from their starting 15.
I said, he's never going to make it back. within 5 minutes he's back on the pitch and playing a major part again.
Declan Sheehan lining this one up with the left boot, and he's cut it back to a 1-point differential.
We were in serious trouble. Our older players seemed to struggle with a sort of lethargic legs, off the mark a little bit. We felt, particularly with the weekend before, that we should be maybe a little bit quicker off the mark, sharper. We weren't. But Dublin, for 20-30 minutes of that match, Dublin played as good a football as any Dublin team have ever played. They probably should have been a little bit further ahead. I do believe the 3 matches and the history with the teams for the 4 or 5 years before that had caught Dublin a little bit. They were sort of looking over the shoulder a little bit.
Hayes against Boylan. Trading the pass inside to Bernard. Flynn sells a beautiful dummy, and from 20 metres out is kicked it over the bar. Meath's first point from play, and Bernard Flynn's first score of the afternoon. So Tommy Carr gets the second half underway, 7 points to 5. Dublin the leaders, and Jerry McEntee straight away trying to redress that situation. Keith Barr. Really good ball. McLean's coming to try and collect. He's left it there. Charlie Redmond has put it over. This is a very good spell for Dublin.
The most amazing thing really was the calmness of our team, you know. Even deep into the second half, when the game looked lost, there was never any stage of panic. There was never any time where we felt that the game was over. None whatsoever.
I think when we went 4 or 5 points up, and we were getting scores a lot easier than we had got in any of the previous games. It just seemed that we were moving forward and we were getting our scores. And I felt that if we can keep this going and don't make any silly mistakes, we just might be able to get over the hump at this stage.
They're still not putting Meath away, you know, when they should be. But still, they're dominating in all quarters at the moment. They're playing better football at the moment, and I think they're going to go on and win this game. Well, it looks that way at the moment.
They thought they had the game won. They certainly thought they had the game won, and you could feel that on the field. They started loosening up a little bit. The game, because they were quite dominant, started to break up a little bit, became a bit frayed around the edges.
Meath in need of a goal, and they've got it! It's Brian Stafford who's brought them back from the edge yet again.
I literally thought we were home and dry. I was sure we were home and dry. And then got hit with the first for the first Meath goal, which, fine, you still have 3 points to spare.
Right now Cullen trying to make sure it's a fifth, and it's Declan Sheehan, and it's a penalty. Declan Sheehan has not heard the whistle, but it's a penalty.
Yes, unquestionably it is a penalty.
So a dramatic moment has come 9 minutes from the end, and Keith Barr is going up to take the penalty.
The reason behind it was that he had such a powerful kick, actually, and these are practiced and rehearsed in training, and you know, there's a number of penalties. Certainly in our management, it was always practiced. We didn't have a very good functional result, despite all the time we put into penalties.
Mickey McQuillan in goal. He's denied Dublin in the past. Can he now keep Meath in this championship match? Remember the scoreline. Meath 1-8, Dublin 14 points. Translated into points, that's 14-11. It's a goal! No, it's outside! It's outside, he's missed it! Keith Barr has missed the penalty. Meath stay in the tie.
You know, I went up and I struck the ball, struck it to Mickey Quinlan's right hand side. I thought I struck the ball well, but unfortunately it wasn't on target, and you know, it was a miss. I think it was a critical miss.
But the most amazing part of it is that Tommy Howard is actually looking at Keith kicking the ball, and Mick Lyons is standing right beside him, and how Tommy didn't tell him to retake the penalty, I'm just completely amazed at, because he wasn't though he was looking at the goal, he's actually looking at Keith, and Mick Lyons is in his way.
Technically it should have been retaken, but as I spoke to Keith Barr after, he said, Tommy, he said, I never even seen anyone running or nothing. He said it was just a badly taken penalty.
I honestly thought if Keith Barr had put away the penalty, we were gone. I think to come back from, that extra 3 points would have been an awful lot more, because we were struggling, legs were struggling in different areas. But fellas were battling. They were never ever gave up.
As a last change in their team, Jim Brogan gives them the little slip of paper. And so Vinny, who was very much the star of Dublin's league campaign, from which they emerged, of course, to win the league.
When I come on for Charlie Redmond and we high-five, basically thought the game was won. Like, that was probably the only time I